Hi, this is The Business Guy, and in this video, we're going to talk about why lately I have been touting the Belize Trust over the Cook Islands Trust in certain circumstances. Now, we talk a lot about the Cook Islands Trust. We have set up more Cook Islands Trusts than anybody in the world. We've also set up many Belize Trusts, so we have experience in both. So in the path forward, you're going to understand why I've been touting the Belize Trust when I wasn't so strong on it before. Number one, my purpose on this channel is to not just be consistent and say the same things over and over again when the facts change. My goal on this channel is to give you the truth. When the circumstances change, I'm going to give you the truth. I'm not just going to be consistent for consistency's sake. I'm going to tell you what's going on. If changes have been made, I'm going to tell you that too. So if you want honesty, if you want truth over just rote consistency when consistency isn't appropriate, well, you're going to get the truth on this channel. So here's the reason why I've been touting the Belize Trust in certain circumstances more than the Cook Islands Trust. And number one, the regulators have been giving a lot of pushback to our trustees in the Cook Islands when there's a lawsuit involved. So this happens in two ways. One, taking on the client in the first place, accepting the client as a new trust client. Number one, there's been a lot of resistance. Number two, when that is the case, because of the pressure from the trustee on not taking people in lawsuits or being very cautious on taking people from lawsuits, keep in mind the regulators determine whether or not the trustees get to keep their licenses. So they have to really be on pins and needles for this. So lately there's been more pressure for the trustees to not accept people in lawsuits. They will in certain circumstances, but what has been happening is we've been getting emails saying, well, we can take this client on, but we need a $50,000 high risk fee or $100,000 high risk fee if we're taking them on. So in other words, if I'm going to risk my license with the regulator breathing down my neck about accepting people or not accepting people who are in lawsuits, I'm going to extract a bucket of blood from the client in order to take that risk. So that's one reason. Number two is when there's been a switchover where people set up the trust when they're not in a lawsuit and they get into a lawsuit, there's been resistance from the trustees on stepping in as signatory on the account. So the law firm is resisting doing that because they're getting pushback from the regulators. So what we found is the people that are most likely to set up trusts are the people who are feeling the pain right now. So the people that have their hair on fire in high pressure situations, where they're in lawsuits currently, those are the most likely people to set up the trust because they're currently feeling the pain. When you go to the doctor, when something's hurting, a lot of times, right? When there's a problem, when there's a rash, when the problem is already there. A lot of people don't go to the doctor for preventative reasons. They go after, oh, I have this aching thing in my side or peeing blood or whatever the situation is. That's when they go to the doctor. And that's the thing. A lot of times people will call us after their hair is already on fire, after they're threatened with a lawsuit, after they have a lawsuit in the public records. And as you know, lawsuits go in the public record. So if you've been sued, but you don't disclose that you've been sued, well, they find out there actually is a lawsuit. That's a reason for rejection right there. So the key thing is if you're in a lawsuit, you can't hide it. It's a public record thing. So you have to disclose it. Whereas Belize, they are more open to people in lawsuits. They understand that when there's a lawsuit, that's when people are most likely to say, yes, let's set up this trust. Another reason for Belize is because there's no statute of limitations on fraudulent conveyance. What that means is a period of time in which your creditor can challenge the transfer of assets into the trust, and they call it fraudulent conveyance. It's not fraud in the traditional sense we think of tricking people out of their money. It's a civil term. It's not a criminal term. It just simply means that you move money so the creditors couldn't get it. So if you move money into the trust so the creditors couldn't get it, and they can prove that you did it just to prevent them from getting it, there is a possibility of that money being taken out of the trust and given to your opponent. Now, we've never seen it happen in the Cook Islands with any of our clients, but there is that window open of 1 to 2 years where that challenge is open to be filed in the court, which is, an expensive process because you have to defend it. You probably win it, but why? When Belize has no statute of limitations on fraudulent conveyance. That is, if you take your money and put it into a Belize trust, it's protected from day one. So it has immediate protection, whereas in Cook Islands and Nevis, they have a 1 to 2 year time period where they can file a challenge. After that, time period has expired, let's say 2 years has gone past and you've had your trust set up and the money in it in the Cook Islands for 2 or more years, and they try to file an action, a fraudulent conveyance action in the Cook Islands, the courts will say, no, we're not even going to hear the case. It's an invalid case because the time has already elapsed for challenge. So you don't have to spend a lot of money fighting it because they're going to reject the case. So in Belize, however, the door's not even open for a minute. They have no time to challenge. Okay, here's another reason why we've been touting the Belize trust more when situations change. We have found that as far as the local people in Belize, it is not quite as trustworthy, may we say, as the Cook Islands. Now, I've never heard of any trustee doing something wrong or taking people's money. It is still very highly regulated. The Cook Islands is part of New Zealand, so it is an independently governed part of New Zealand, and so they have very strict regulations and a very good reputation. Belize is an independent country. It's not part of some big first world country. I want somebody from a jurisdiction that we trust. We now have an office in Belize. We have one of our attorneys who's moved down to Belize, who serves as the trustee, who we trust tremendously. And so that's another factor there because we don't have to rely on a local person. We have a licensed attorney who's licensed in the United States in New York and is also licensed in Belize as an attorney. Very trustworthy individual. He's not going to risk his license in either jurisdiction. And that's a reason why we now have our trustee in Belize who we trust tremendously with our clients' money. So not only are we going to give our clients honesty and integrity, and we're going to update things when things change, but also we're not going to risk our clients' funds in a way that we wouldn't risk our own funds. So I trust our attorney in Belize, and I trust our clients' money with our attorney in Belize. And it's a law firm, not just one guy. And that's another reason. So now we have a very, very trustworthy situation in a jurisdiction with the strongest laws. I mean, Belize does have the strongest asset protection laws of any jurisdiction on the planet, bar none, because of that short statute of limitations of fraudulent conveyance and the other things being equal to Cook Islands and Nevis. I think Belize is really the strongest jurisdiction for asset protection. Now that we have a trustworthy situation in Belize where we have a local person who we can trust, and that's a recent thing, that's a recent change, that's another reason why I've been touting the Belize trust. So it isn't just going back on my word or being hypocritical, saying one thing one day and saying another thing another day, like changing a shirt. These are logically backed reasons, and I just wanted to be transparent with you why I am making this recommendation in certain circumstances to set up the Belize trust. So what's the takeaway from this? The takeaway is now we have two really great choices instead of just one. When you have an asset protection trust in the Cook Islands, your assets are going to be protected. When you have an asset protection trust in Belize, your assets are going to be protected. And now that we have the integrity issue taken care of because we have a U.S. attorney who's on our team with tremendous integrity, that box has now been checked. Okay, now let's do a self-interest check. I wonder if he's recommending this because he received some kind of financial benefit for doing so. And the answer is the price is the same. Our profitability is the same. In fact, if anything, it costs slightly more to fulfill in Belize than it does the Cook Islands. So we have no financial benefit in recommending one or the other. To us, it's the same. It's just that if our clients are in litigation, which many of them are, Belize is an excellent choice, where Cook Islands has been more reluctant to do so lately. So I hope you find this useful. I hope you find my transparency refreshing. And if you appreciate this, give it a like down below. And I'd really like to see you again. So subscribe so we can see each other again. What that does is that makes it more likely to show up in your feed if you're subscribed. It doesn't cost you anything. That's all it does. It helps me out, the more subscribers we have, and it helps you out because you can get updated information faster. So thanks for watching. See you again real soon. This is The Business Guy.